spiral into hell. Jan Michael Vincent, a golden boy, blessed with good looks and talent. How did he go from this to this? Too drunk to remember his lines, he threw it all away.
Why were you drunk?
I like it.
Bill Ritter with a raw and intimate look at the underbelly of a Hollywood career. Free fall from fame.
In the 80s, there was a wildly successful movie and television actor named Jan Michael Vincent. He had it all. Great looks, money, fame, family. But then it all ended. Jan Michael Vincent just seemed to throw it all away. One reason was booze. He drank a lot. He also did a lot of drugs. Now, many people have those problems, but to me, what makes Jan Michael Vincent's story most interesting is that his fall happened over many years and in front of millions of his fans.
He was the Brad Pitt of his generation, handsome, charming, in demand. Over the past 30 years, Jan Michael Vincent has had major roles in at least 50 movies, including the romantic lead in The Winds of War and the dashing flyboy in the TV drama Airwolf. But despite all his success, once one of Hollywood's busiest actors, spends all his time just trying to stay sober.
I don't have to be an alcoholic all my life. I mean, I have to be an alcoholic, but I don't have to be a drunk all my life.
Why were you drunk?
I like it.
How close are you from falling off the edge again?
Oh, I'm hanging on my white knuckles. That's being honest. I can't tell you more than that.
He speaks in a raspy whisper, the result of a terrible car accident in 1996. Jan was driving drunk when he plowed into the back of his girlfriend's car in this intersection. The tabloids had a field day. Jan broke his neck and was left with damaged vocal cords.
What shape is Jan Michael Vincent in? How healthy?
Oh, my health is excellent. What the problem is, some of the damage I've done to myself, like my eye. I had a detached retina. And my voice, it's coming back.
These days, Jan passes his time quietly in a tiny house in Santa Monica. But he wants desperately to go back to work, and he wants Hollywood to give him another chance.
Can you act? Can you appear in movies?
I have acted, yeah. You know, it changes the way, the roles you play even.
What roles can you play now, Jan?
Oh, I imagine I can play the same things I've always played.
You could be the studly star of a major motion picture?
Oh, I could be, yeah.
But the truth is, Jan is not the cocky, confident actor he used to be. He admitted to me he was nervous about our interview because he was afraid he might get the urge to drink. It's a far cry from how Jan's career began. Just a kid from California who loved to surf. He was discovered by James Dean's agent, and he quickly became a star. In The World's Greatest Athlete, clearly it wasn't Jan's acting ability the producers liked. It was how great he looked in a loincloth. From the start, Jan was teamed with big-name stars. Charles Bronson, Burt Reynolds, John Wayne, Robert Mitchum. He was also introduced to Hollywood's macho subculture, where real men were expected to drink hard.
Was Robert Mitchum your mentor?
Well, in some ways, yes.
Did you drink with him?
Oh, yes.
He was a hard-drinking guy.
Oh, yes. Drank with John Wayne. We used to play chess and go to the war bars out in where we were in Mexico.
You're a young guy here. I mean, we're talking about movies that are 1968. So you're 21 years old.
Young, dumb, and ready to run.
Jan's drinking was already taking a toll in the late 70s when his first wife took their young daughter Amber and moved out. But Hollywood looked the other way. Superstardom came in 1981 with The Winds of War, the miniseries that co-starred his mentor, Robert Mitchum.
Ready to go to war, as I'm sure Willie would desire?
Personally, sir, I'm more than ready.
Then, in 1983, a hit TV series, Airwolf. Jan played the pilot of a top-secret military helicopter.
What, am I getting sandbagged or what?
Oh, don't...
But it was no secret Jan was drinking on the set. Warren Gray was an assistant director.
The first year when I would get him out of the trailer, and it wasn't difficult, that was fairly easy. The second year, he hid his drinking well. The third year was more overt. It was obvious. It was obvious in the third year that he drank.
Here's an unhappy man who has a chip on his shoulder.
Jan also had several run-ins with the law. A woman accused him of assault, acquitted. He was charged with drunk driving, going on a violent rampage at a party, decking a guy in a barroom brawl. Jan always managed to slither out of trouble. Probation and forced rehab were his stiffest penalties.
Most people would have spent a long time in jail, and yet you really didn't spend any time in jail.
Welcome to my world. I'm a stray dog.
And society didn't do you any favors either. The criminal justice system didn't do you any favors either.
Why is that?
Because you got slaps on the wrist. Everyone would say, Jan Michael Vincent, we'll give you a slap on the wrist. You were treated better.
I can't deny that. Like you said, I can't deny it. But look where it got me.
Airwolf was grounded in 1986. Even though the ratings were good, Jan's drinking and a newly acquired cocaine habit were costing a fortune in production delays.
The rap on you for Airwolf is that the show's demise was hastened by your cocaine abuse. To the people who believe that, what would you say?
Well, I think that's probably correct.
By now, the big studios were rejecting Jan, but the smaller ones figured they could still make a buck off him. So he starred in a string of low-budget shoot-'em-ups, soft-core erotic thrillers, and bizarre sci-fi films.
Quiet, Slate. Action. Okay, you sit up, Jan.
Down.
This is probably Jan's worst moment on film. On the set of No Rest for the Wicked, listen as Jan can't even repeat the lines being fed to him off camera.
You say it was conspiracy.
Did he mention what organization?
I have no idea.
You say that. Say, did he mention what organization?
What organization?
No, you got to say that line. Say, did he mention any organization?
What organization are you talking about?
And just before filming an action picture called Red Line, Jan got in yet another serious car crash. He went through the windshield, and he showed up for work looking like this.
I don't like walking around here looking like Frankenstein with zippers in my lips. No, Frankenstein, listen to me.
If you hadn't been able to get onto this B-movie track that you got onto, I wonder what would have happened to your life. Did the success and ease by which you could get those roles mask what was happening, mask your drinking, mask your cocaine use?
I believe that's so. I never thought about it like that. But, you know, it's all down there on paper, and you're looking at it chronologically, yeah. I believe that's exactly so.
What are you doing right now to stay sober, to stay clean?
Well, I go to meetings almost every weekday.
Last spring, Jan was arrested for sleeping in the street. He pleaded guilty to public drunkenness and was ordered into rehab again. His family says this time will be different. This time, Jan has changed. His daughter, Amber, is now 27.
At times, he would make an effort to clean up his act in the past, maybe for reasons that were not his own. It makes a difference when somebody does it for themselves. And I think that's what I'm seeing this time. I hope it is.
What will it take for people to believe in you again?
Well, there's somebody going to believe in me.
If you were on the other side of the table, you were a Hollywood executive. You're looking at Jan Michael Vincent. What would you do?
I'd look very closely. I'd see somebody who cleared some major hurdles and was still running.
This story has no movie of the week ending. Jan will never be the star he once was. Every day he struggles with his addiction. But if he can beat it, maybe that will be his biggest success.
Handcuffs today in a Laguna Niguel courtroom. This came during a hearing to determine if he violated his probation following his latest arrest for being drunk in public. Now, that came in January in Santa Monica. Last year, the former star of TV's Airwolf series was arrested 3 times in a month on similar charges. Vincent posted $20,000 bail after today's arrest and was released. A trial date in this case was set for September 14th.
This just Depp. He was the star of television's Airwolf. Young, handsome, Jan Michael Vincent was a superstar.
You were bigger than Brad Pitt.
That was 20 years ago.
And this is now.
Well, I even know who Brad Pitt is.
His personal demons.
A sex symbol. I hope I'm a good one.
The tragic past he can't remember.
10 years ago, you were in a car accident.
You know, I don't even have idea what you're talking about. I remember being in an accident, but I remember it.
In depth with Airwolf's Jan Michael Vincent, 20 years later. His condition today and the family history he can't remember.
That's your daughter? And how old is she?
You got me.
Tonight's episode of The Biggest Loser leaves two mothers. Insider in depth.
Well, wish me luck.
He rose to stardom as Airwolf's leading man. Now, how the world of Jan Michael Vincent came crashing down around him.
You know, I don't even have idea what you're talking about.
In moments.
Window, gas, timer.
Vincent's startling fall from fame.
Airwolf star Jan Michael Vincent today, virtually unrecognizable 30 years after he shot to fame. Victoria Ricano is in Hollywood with Jan Michael's dramatic story.
It's a startling change, Pat. He was one of the top sex symbols of the 70s, loved by millions in movies and television. So how did this star fall so far? I sat down with Jan Michael to find out. Young, handsome, one of the highest paid actors in Hollywood, Jan Michael Vincent was a superstar.
You were bigger than Brad Pitt.
But that was 20 years ago. This is Jan Michael Vincent today.
Well, I even know who Brad Pitt is.
Appearing disheveled, having difficulty speaking and remembering.
You know, I don't even have idea what you're talking about.
The long-ago heartthrob now struggles just to sit in a chair. Jan is now a shadow of the once striking actor we all loved and remembered.
Are you an alcoholic?
Yes.
The actor's mind impacted from the years of hard living and a near-fatal car accident he doesn't even remember.
About 10 years ago, you were in a car accident.
You know, I don't even have idea what you're talking about. I don't remember having an accident.
In 1996, Jan barely escaped with his life. The crash broke 3 vertebrae in his neck and also permanently damaged his voice, leaving him speaking with a raspiness which exists to this day.
I'm sure I've been in an accident because I'm wild and crazy and go too fast.
Jan has a difficult time remembering the kind of things most of us would never forget.
This is special. That's my daughter.
That's your daughter?
Yeah.
And how old is she?
You got me.
Now 63 years old, the actor left Los Angeles long ago and moved with his devoted wife. His Hollywood career now seems but a faded memory.
Well, wish me luck.
I just want to be someone that people care about watching.
Today, a far cry from the role that shot him to superstardom, the hit series Airwolf, now available on DVD. And even though he hasn't been in front of the camera for years, Jan seems to be almost intrigued by the thought of a comeback.
I'd love to work.
If you could speak to a producer right now in Hollywood, what would you say?
Let's work.
It's so hard to believe what's happened to Jan Michael, and tomorrow his story gets even more dramatic. Tomorrow on The Insider, Airwolf, Jan Michael Vincent's health.
Are you dying?
Plus his message to young Hollywood.
Don't drink and drive.
Are you dying?
Plus his message to Paris and young Hollywood.
Don't drink and drive. Don't do any drugs.
He is Airwolf's Jan Michael Vincent, hiding a serious medical condition.
Do you have cirrhosis of the liver?
I know.
New York. Now we have more of Airwolf star Jan Michael Vincent. Last night you watched him reveal how he no longer remembers many aspects of his professional and personal life.
Tough to watch. Tonight, the moment that surprised us all as Victoria Ricano continues her exclusive insider interview.
There's so many rumors out there, you know?
Rumors about
yeah.
what?
Well, like, are you dying?
No. Not even.
No.
No.
Do you have cirrhosis of the liver?
Of course not.
In part 2, with the one-time hunk and former heartthrob, Jan Michael Vincent sets the record straight with health, alcohol, and drug abuse rumors swirling around his 40-year career.
Have you ever been addicted to drugs or any sort of...
No.
Never?
No, I don't have a problem with that. I've had my experiences, but I'm not saying I never touched anything, but that's not my I don't have an addiction. I'm not even thought about it.
Are you sober today?
Very sober.
By the time you get there, it'll be gone.
But the former Airwolf star, which is set to release on DVD, almost died in a 1996 drunk driving car accident. Talk to me about your health right now.
Well, I'm an old man.
After 2 decades of well-chronicled court convictions and police troubles, today the aging actor warns young Hollywood like Paris Hilton, Nicole Richie, and Lindsay Lohan of the dangers of drunk driving and fleeting fame.
Don't drink and drive. Don't do any drugs. Your lifetime is real special. Do not destroy it by doing anything like that.
I know Jan Michael has high hopes to get back in front of the camera, but his last credited film role was 5 years ago in 2002. He co-starred in a small independent gang drama called White Boy.
Brad Pitt.
Well, I even know who Brad Pitt is.
Are you an alcoholic?
Yes.
I know that about 10 years ago, you were in a car accident.
You know, I don't even have idea what you're talking about. I don't remember being in an accident, but I don't remember anything about it. I'm sure I've been in an accident because I'm wild and crazy and go too fast and jump up with wrong things, but I don't remember having an accident. Well, I'm an old man. Well, I don't have any health problems.
How do you feel?
16.
You feel like you're 16.
That's what I feel like.
Are you sober today?
Very sober.
You read all this information and you're on the computer and trying to get stories about where you've been and how you're doing and there's so many rumors out there, you know?
Rumors about what?
Yeah. Well, like, are you dying?
No. Not even...
No.
No.
Now, I have to ask, have you ever been wheelchair bound?
I'm sure I have, but I don't remember anything about it.
Even though you didn't know that you were one of the highest paid people on TV. You were.
Well, that's the first time I've thought about that.
Really?
I never thought about being high paid. I just want to be someone that people care about watching. And I feel I'm a good actor. They want to show me something and I can read it. I'd love to work. I'm working right now.
Airwolf was a story about this fellow who was running, you know, we'd go out there and help people in distress, go out and help and do things, you know, that we got to a point where people actually started believing that this ship was just the way it was. We'd have it over at air meets, you know, when the U.S. Navy demonstration teams used to come by, the Blue Angels. And we'd have it over in a corner, and people would look at it, and the kids would look at it, and be all loaded down with guns and everything else, you know. And there was the, you know, the ship itself. Oh, man. And where did it come from? The inside of a volcano, no less. It was marvelous, you know. And we often used to say, no, don't go near it, because, no, we can't tell. We never said a word about it, you know. And everybody believed it. My goodness, this is really something. And we actually had thoughts that the Russians were kind of leery about this thing, too. I was a happy-go-lucky kind of a fella, you know. He wanted to keep everything in line, you know. Everybody that came along, you know, said, what do you think about it? Well, yeah, let's go, you know. And he'd always go in cooperation with his buddy, you know, Jan Michael Vincent, and off we'd go. We'd do another tear off into something and go up and do something else. And he was always a stalwart behind the pilot who was working all the gadgets and all the computers and everything else. And that was his job. Don Belisario picked the right fella. I mean, Jan Michael Vincent was a man who could look at a script like this and say, okay, let's shoot it. Me, I've got to look at a script and then take every word for what I can, you know, and make something out of it. He could just, bam, that's it. He had a photographic mind, just like Brad Crawford had at one time. He just took a look at it and we're ready to shoot. I often, how can the people do it? This is amazing, to have a photographic memory and shoot, you know? I've seen it. There was a fellow by the name of Tom Jones, a wonderful pilot, and he took us up for orientation to see how we wanted to get along and how we got along in a helicopter. And he took us up and we'd go around and do this and do that, and we asked questions, and he'd put our hands on the control and everything else. And I had my hands on the control one day, and he said, okay, take over. And he pulled his hands away. And I said, what? And suddenly we're all over the air, you know. And he said, no, you've had it. You've been handling it for 5 minutes. I said, what? And I suddenly learned a great lesson. If your knees are your stalwart things, and you hold on to your knees and put these things over by your knees, and you're steady right down. And it's all your feet are working, your hands are working, and it's one of those kind of, you've got to be on the ball. Besides listening to what the radio and everything else, you got to be on the ball to be a helicopter pilot. And this fella one time, Jones, was out there doing loop-de-loop, you know, crazy things over the Pacific Ocean while we were shooting down by the water. And I said, are you doing what I think you're doing? He said, yeah. My God, with a helicopter. It's amazing.